Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Regulation G VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'll be showcasing a restricted Pokemon that is not very common in this format in Eternatus. Eternatus is uniquely positioned right now, especially with the rise of Pokemon like Zamazenta, because first of all, it resists a lot of common typings like fire, water, grass, as well as fighting. In addition, you are fairly speedy and you have a really good offensive coverage between Dragon, Poison, as well as Fire. The team also has a really unique tech in Araquanid with max HP, max defense, wide guard, and infestation. Araquanid can be really difficult for opposing physical-oriented teams to deal with, and you also have wide guard support to protect you from moves like Astral Barrage as well as Bleakwind Storm. This team finished in the top 32 of the Senior Division World Championships this past year, and in my opinion, Eternatus is just underexplored right now, so I'm really eager to showcase what this Pokemon can do in this format. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. If you're interested in trying out the team, the rental code is on the screen, and there's also an accompanying Pokepaste down below. This team finished 18th in the Senior Division 2024 Pokemon Video Game World Championships, piloted by Julian. I knew I wanted to try this team out because Eternatus was a Pokemon that people had talked about a little bit in Reg G, but a lot of people weren't willing to actually bring it to the biggest tournaments. And so to see it be brought to Worlds and have a really solid finish definitely caught my eye. Eternatus is a Pokemon that just doesn't maybe feel as broken as, for example, the Calyrexes or Miraidon, because you're often just doing solid damage, but you're not just, picking up knockout after knockout after knockout. And it also has an ability that's just not very competitively strong. However, this team supports it really well. You've got double fake out support, grassy terrain from Rillaboom for recovery, Flutter Mane for speed control with that Icy Wind and Thunder Wave, and you've got some cool techs like Covert Cloak, Poison Terra, Dark Urshifu, as well as max HP, max defense leftovers, Araquanid with that infestation and wide guard. Araquanid in particular is a really valuable pick into physically oriented restricted Pokemon, can be very good, for example, into Calyrex Ice Rider as well as Zamazenta, and Wide Guard is one of the best support moves in the format, and Infestation can be really annoying for opposing teams to deal with. Breaking down the individual Pokemon, the first one I want to highlight is Eternatus. In honor of us using Eternatus, I want to know what restricteds you think deserve more usage in this format and are underrated at the moment. Now, Eternatus is a really interesting restricted Pokemon because it has really solid base stats, base 140 HP, 145 special attack, 130 speed, but it doesn't get access to any really crazy spread moves like you see from Calyrex as well as Kyogre and Groudon, for example. So this is just kind of a solid restricted Pokemon that will do a lot of damage to common picks, right? Dynamax Cannon, a really consistent dragon type attack, no additional effect, unfortunately, with Dynamax not being in the game anymore, but this is still very powerful as just a solid neutral option, and a lot of Pokemon are weak to dragon in the format. Sludge Bomb is really nice. I think poison coverage is incredible in this format, and that's one of the reasons why Landorus Incarnate has actually been really good in the format, because having access to a very powerful Sludge Bomb is super good into, for example, Rillaboom, as well as Clefairy, and all those Fairy Terras that exist. Flamethrower rounds out your coverage here, and this is really valuable into the Steel-type Pokemon that otherwise are going to wall Dragon as well as Poison-type attacks. Eternatus here is Fairy typing, or Fairy Terror I should say, which allows you to get around, of course, super effective hits from Dragon type attacks like Miraidon, Draco Meteor, for example, and the spread is fairly straightforward with it nearly being max speed and max special attack. The main idea behind this Eternatus is find positions where it can just get these super effective attacks off. Ideally, find positions where your opponents just can't safely switch into any of its moves, and try to find angles where you can ideally two-shot, common threats, or even one-shot something if you already gotten some chip damage onto it. Araquanid is the other really unique member of this team, and this is going to be a min-speed Araquanid. Trick Room can actually be a pretty tough matchup for this team, and so I think Araquanid's really nice to deal with some of those Trick Room-oriented compositions. This is just really, really bulky. You are able to soak up so much physical damage, and this Pokemon in particular will give Ice Riders a nightmare. You've got Liquidation, which is a pretty powerful attack here and can lower your opponent's defense. Infestation, which will trap and damage your opponent for 4 to 5 turns. Wide Guard, which is obviously just good unique support, and Protect. So even with no attack investment, because you have Water Bubble, your water type power is 2x'd, and you can't be burnt, and you take less damage from fire type attacks, all which are really nice for this Pokemon. So with the Araquanid, you should not expect it to pick up big one-hit knockouts like you might be used to with the Araquanids from previous generations, for example. The bigger picture with it is to trap in, for example, Calyrex Ice Rider, or trap in Pokemon, and just really be a nuisance while also threatening Wide Guard, and Liquidation can be used against Pokemon that take super effective damage from it, like Incineroar, for example. But just with this amount of HP and defense and leftovers and grassy terrain support, this Araquanid can be a nightmare for certain Pokemon to deal with. Like I mentioned, you really want to think about bringing this into Calyrex Ice Rider. I think it can be really solid into Zamazenta compositions as well, and just teams that orient around a lot more physical Pokemon. To round out the team, you've got some classics in Fluttermane here. This Fluttermane is going to be very defensive, but you still got a good bit of speed investment here as well. And you have Water Terra, which is nice defensively. It's mainly meant for speed control with Icy Wind and Thunder Wave, and is one of the most common leads you'll have on this team with Eternatus. Fluttermane, Eternatus, Fluttermane, Urshifu, both really valuable as options. Eternatus is really fast, but of course you have to worry about being outsped by like Calyrex Shadow Rider, for example, as well as, you know, Pokemon between the base 130 to 150 range. So for example, Miraidon as well. And so where Fluttermane comes in handy is being able to drop those Pokemon speeds, allowing Eternatus to just potentially knock them out before they even get to move. For example, Fluttermane Eternatus really good into Miraidon compositions where you can just thread an Icy Wind into Dynamax Cannon or Sludge Bomb if you think they're going to Fairy Terra. Urshifu, also a really strong offensive option on this team. This Urshifu actually has a little bit of bulk as well, which is nice. So keep that in mind. You're not going to be max speed. You're only hitting a speed stat of 138, but with Fluttermane speed control, that'll allow Urshifu to basically outpace everything after an Icy Wind. So this Urshifu having Covert Cloak is also really nice. This team was actually designed for the World Championships, which plays in the open team sheet best of 3 environment, but this Covert Cloak tech can just single-handedly win you games if you're playing this team on the ladder, because it is not an item that people often anticipate on it. It allows you to, for example, lead Fluttermane and Urshifu and just bypass Fake Out completely on turn 1. If you're up against Calyrex Shadow Rider, for example, you'll really want to bring Urshifu. A lot of Shadow Rider teams often will have multiple Fake Out users, so having the Urshifu to block that Fake Out and just knock out Calyrex with Wicked Blow is really, really nice. You have Rillaboom and Incineroar as the final 2 Pokemon. Not much that needs to be said about these other than that they offer Fake Out support. The Grassy Terrain is really nice on Rillaboom in particular for the Araquanid here, as you'll be able to heal so much between Leftovers and Grassy Terrain. And Rillaboom is a Pokemon that you'll want to be bringing into, for example, the Miraidon matchup. Also valuable into teams that have, for example, Water-type Pokemon, Kyogre teams, for example. And it can also be a good answer into Amoonguss where you can soak up Spore and then maybe, you know, for example, U-turn and pivot out. Incineroar here is another answer for that Amoonguss, and you'll notice you've got Safety Goggles as well as Taunt here. So this Incineroar does not have Will-O-Wisp, it does not have Flare Blitz, it's more support-oriented, as Incineroar generally is in this format, but keep in mind that you've got that Taunt with Goggles. Amoonguss can actually be really annoying for this team because you just don't have many ways to knock it out quickly. You can obviously Flamethrower it a couple times with Eternatus, but Fluttermane does nothing into it. Urshifu can Wicked Blow into it, but then you just get put to sleep. Araquanid's not very good into it, so Incineroar is really necessary here to deal with Amoonguss. So Goggles plus Taunt. If you see Amoonguss in team preview, you should immediately be thinking about bringing Incineroar. I think it basically is a must bring into that matchup, and this is a more specially oriented set here. You've got a little bit of speed investment here as well, but the general idea here obviously is for Fake Out pressure, for Party Shot pressure, and to stop Amoonguss in particular. In terms of ways that I like playing with the team, I find that Fluttermane Eternatus and Fluttermane Urshifu often are really offensive leads. You can go with Fake Out plus Eternatus as well, right? Just threaten Fake Out and a lot of damage. And with Rilla and Instant Fake Out cycling, you can, for example, if you think your opponent will protect as you Fake Out, hard switch into Incineroar or the other on turn 1 and then have a second Fake Out available to you immediately. But when I look to push the tempo with this team, I like leading Fluttermane Eternatus and Fluttermane Urshifu and just try to, you know, overwhelm my opponent in terms of damage right away from the beginning of the game. So those are just some modes to consider. In terms of things to watch out for, the first thing that I want to point out is that a lot of the offense on this team will index around Eternatus as well as Urshifu, so you have to protect these Pokemon and play with them well. If you take negative trades with them, it often won't go in your favor, so you have to keep that in mind. Eternatus obviously does not like going up against Dragon-type attacks as well as Ground-type attacks. Ground types in particular I find to be a little bit annoying. For example, I played against a Zacian with Ground Terra Blast that just outsped and KO'd me immediately. You got to worry about Choice Scarf Landorus Incarnate with Earth Power, for example, as well as Sandsear Storm. And Groudon and Ursaluna, for example, can be really scary for this as well. So in general, Eternatus does not like going up against Pokemon that you can't knock out and they can one-shot you in return, or Pokemon that just outspeed you and knock you out. Fluttermane is obviously really good for speed control, but this is not going to be able to do that much damage. It's a relatively passive Fluttermane, so I've had games where I lead Fluttermane, my opponent has Tornadus, they just set up Tailwind, and suddenly I don't really have that much value from it. Pokemon that obviously resist Moonblast are valuable as well, and Trick Room is a complete nightmare if you lean into Flutter Mane and Eternatus early, because obviously these are fairly speedy Pokemon. The only thing Flutter Mane can really do is hope for Thunder Wave paralysis, right, onto your opponents. You also could self-Thunder Wave yourself, by the way, on this team to either prevent yourself from getting put to sleep by Amoonguss's Spore or to slow yourself down under Trick Room, but then obviously you're risking yourself being fully paralyzed, but I just wanted to call that as a potential option. But yeah, I think I've definitely lost a fair number of games with this team when Trick Room just gets set up, and I have like the faster mode of the team, which is Flutter Mane, Eternatus, Urshifu. Yes, Araquanid can be valuable under Trick Room because it's slow and bulky, but it's not like picking up knockouts generally under Trick Room, and that can be a little bit tough. The Fake Out here is really valuable, but obviously you got to worry about a couple of things. For example, things that can stop that Fake Out, like Farigiraf, as well as Indeedee with the Psychic Terrain, for example. You also have to certainly respect positions where neither of these Pokemon can just do a lot of damage. I had one endgame while I was getting the hang of the team where Incineroar was up against a Rillaboom, and the Rillaboom was just actually able to beat me because I don't, have the Flare Blitz on the Incineroar set here. Similarly, this Rillaboom obviously does not have high horsepower, so you really have to watch out about endgames where you're facing up against like Steel-type Pokemon, for example, or Grass-type Pokemon, where you just really do no damage into them. Araquanid is really cool, but it obviously does not love going up against special attackers in, for example, Raging Bolt. I've played against like a Booster Bolt before that was able to just Thunderbolt me and do so much damage into it. And Araquanid's also relatively passive, so be careful about situations where it's out on the field and just not offering very much for you. So those are just a couple things I want to call out. And also with Urshifu here not being Focus Sash, you have to be very careful about just getting one-shot by Fairy-type attacks, obviously. So keep that in mind. So those are just a couple of things that I've run into that have been tough to fight against. Okay, we've got Zamazenta here with Urshifu, Chien-Pao, Rilla, Chiyu, and Flutter. Right now, this team is exceptionally popular. Sometimes you'll see Amoonguss on the composition instead, but Zama is just, a really kind of like fair restricted Pokemon to use, and it's obviously quite powerful. Scarf Chiyu is gonna be on that team normally. Sash Chien-Pao, Goggles Urshifu, but you could adjust it to like, Mystic Water, obviously. Against Zama, it's normally going to be Dragon Terra. I actually think Eternatus is really solid into Zama because I just resist your body press. And I think Eternatus is really good into this team overall. So I don't mind going My Flutter plus Eternatus. Dark Ursh is meh. We have Ghost Terra on Instant, but no Will-O-Wisp, unfortunately. Araquanid is not bad here either, especially into like Chien-Pao, Rilla, for example. And I can Wide Guard like Heat Wave. I'm leaning towards not bringing Rillaboom into this matchup. It's still not bad though. I think Instant is probably okay. Dark Ursh is interesting for the ability to crit though. Yeah, I think if we had Will-O-Wisp, I actually would bring Instant, but without Will-O-Wisp, Instant becomes less valuable. And I like the Dark Ursh here because it's actually Poison Terra, which is kind of unique. Although, actually, I mean, it's a fairly common defensive Terra on Urshifu. Urshifu Dark specifically. But yeah, like, it's valuable in this matchup because it allows me to take body presses a little bit better. So they're going to go Zamarilla, which is fine. I think with this, I could just Thunder Wave Zamazenta immediately. I could always just double protect turn 1 as well. I think, yeah, the main thing we want to respect here is, what, Fake Out here, Heavy Slam here. Fake Out here, Heavy Slam here, protect. And then I could Moonblast Sludge Bomb, Moonblast Water Terra Sludge Bomb the next turn. Fears if they were to Grassy Glide. I don't hate double protecting here on turn 1. Like, the only risk here is if it was Iron Defense Zama, in my opinion, but that's not very common, and especially not on these compositions, because you really want all of Body Press, Heavy Slam, Wide Guard, Protect. So the idea here is double protect, get around your Fake Out, or bait out a Terra. Okay, I wasn't expecting a Terra to come out this early, but that's great. Probably Fire Terra on Rilla then? Nope. They wanted a Terra Zama on turn 1, and it's Ghost Terra. Okay. Ghost is not actually that common relative to, say, Dragon Terra, which is kind of the go-to defensive Terra. But I'm okay with this. Fake out. Yep. I assume just Heavy Slam here. Yeah, I guess I'm mainly surprised they committed Ghost Terra on turn 1 since they weren't facing, like, super effective damage if you're going to fake out Eternatus anyway, right? But I'm happy for them to commit a Terra. Because now I can use that to my knowledge, and I also have Dark Urshifu in the back, which is fantastic for us. The play I'm leaning towards here is Sludge Bomb, Rillaboom, Water Terra, Moonblast to KO Rilla. And also survive Heavy Slam. Because I think one play they could make right now is Protect Zama and Woodhammer. You could also just attack with both. So if we get rid of Rilla, I think that is going to be quite good for us. I don't want to just Thunder Wave or Icy Wind into Zama and have it protect right now. But the Water Terra here covers for the chance that they don't protect and they just attack with it again. Nice. There's the protect. Perfect. I'm mainly just worried that we actually don't get the knockout even with this double up. But I don't know. This is pretty powerful. That should be Assault Vest Rillaboom, but this should be a lot stronger of an attack. Yeah, perfect. Okay, great. This is huge, right? Because now I can pressure with Icy Wind or Thunder Wave. I think the main scary thing would be the Mind Game if they bring out the Gem Power right now. Because I could obviously just Icy Wind plus Flamethrower. They bring out their Flutter Mane, which is fine by me. Okay, so you get a booster on that. Now you pressure with Icy Wind Body Press. I have Araquanid in the back. One thing to think about, though, is I will not be able to... Like, we want a Thunder Wave Zama here, I think, personally. Thunder Wave Zama. Flutter Manes here normally aren't going to be super offensive. So I'm leaning towards just Sludge Bombing Flutter and Thunder Waving into Zama. I think getting the Paralysis is huge because now it just means Urshifu can click Wicked Blow into the Zamazenta. Yeah, though Icy Wind, which is fine. It's probably Icy Wind and then Body Press into the Flutter Mane slot, which is okay, because then I can bring out Araquanid, and then Araquanid can wall Zama decently well, and then just Liquidation into Flutter Mane. Good damage there. And Zama actually gets paralyzed as well, so yeah, like, you know, when I click Thunder Wave with this Flutter Mane, it's mainly to just get the speed control from it, but being able to get paras obviously can just be game defining as well, so 2 turns of Grassy Terrain. I think here I am content to just double Protect to scout out for Protects on their end. Yeah, my expectation there was for Body Press to go into Flutter Feints, and then I get a free switch into either Urshifu or Araquanid. I probably would have brought out Araquanid first, and then try to Liquidation to finish off Flutter Mane. And then use Urshifu in the end game. Because Ursh right now is vulnerable to just getting KO'd by Flutter, right? But they just go for Shadow Ball here. Yep. On that team, it's normally Shadow Ball, Moonblast, Icy Wind, Protect, Grass Terra. That actually gets parried again. But we're double protecting here. Okay. I'm thinking about switching Flutter out right now. Mainly because I think the Body Press into it's fairly obvious, but they might double up onto Eternatus here. I'm fine Sludge Bombing Flutter Mane right now. Switching this out helps out against Urshifu in the end game. I don't think there's too much downside to switching Araquanid here. The only play that would, I guess, really punish this is Flutter Mane Protect, Zama Heavy Slam into Eternatus, but even then, I think it's fine. Araquanid hits the field. Flutter does Protect, okay, nicely done. So Sludge Bomb into their Protect, but that's fine. Let's see if they actually did target Eternatus. That'd be an awesome play by them. Okay, let's body press into Araquanid. And yeah, we take that like a champ. Perfect. So everyone heals back now. I get the knockout onto Flutter here. And then I could Infestation, honestly, with Araquanid at this point. Terrain disappears. No more healing. Sludge Bomb. Yeah, I'm going to Sludge Bomb into Flutter and Infestation into it. The main thing is because Flutter protected, like maybe they consider a switch here. Say they go out into Chien-Pao. Flutter's damage isn't really that scary because this is a speed booster set with, normally you have enough bulk to survive Surging Strikes and you don't have that much special attack investment. So the idea here is let's just guarantee a knockout this turn and get the game down to 4v2. Or maybe a 3v2. But they're just going to Shadow Ball us. You see Eternatus takes that like an absolute beast. Knockout Flutter. Cool. And yeah, I think them just committing the Ghost Terra on turn 1 meant that I knew they could have defensively Terra anything else. And they didn't really get that much value out of Ghost Terra either. And you can see Eternatus even survives the double up there, which is beautiful. So Araquanid gets that Infestation off. And now Zama is both paralyzed and infested, which is not a fun combo for them. So I mean, regardless of what their last one is, if it's Chi-Yu, you just get hit by Liquidation. If it's Urshifu, you really just don't do much damage to Araquanid. It is going to be Chi-Yu, okay. Probably the best last one for them to have, honestly. It's normally going to be Scarf, though. Scarf Dark Pulse here. I think I can just double protect this turn, honestly. Get some more leftovers recovery. What do you... Yeah, because if you commit to Heat Wave, then I can just Wide Guard you. So I'm happy to double protect here. It's almost... Not almost always going to be... like, the current versions really like Choice Scarf on Chi-Yu, but Covert Cloak is an item that you can run on it as well. It's going to just be Heat Wave, so I think this next turn I'm happy to just Wide Guard and Dynamax Cannon. Cool. Yeah. This is kind of a nightmare for Zamazenta, right? You're up against like max HP, max defense Araquanid with leftovers, as well as Eternatus, which resists your body press. The Water Terror on Flutter didn't end up being relevant, but you can see why it went for it, right? Because Flutter, I think, put a lot of value for us in this game, but it is at risk of just fainting to a single Heavy Slam. So I can Dynamax Cannon here and Wide Guard. See if they end up actually being Scarf on Chi-Yu, but if you're Scarf, then yeah, like Araquanid has been so awesome in this game, being able to like tank a body press and then also be able to threaten with Liquidation and Infestation. So here's Wide Guard. Beautiful. Yeah, and there's the Scarf. Awesome. Like, you know, even if they locked into Dark Pulse, though, like, Scarf Dark Pulse isn't really that scary, since then my Dark Urshifu just wins the game for us. That's why I really value getting the Paralysis off into the Zamazenta. We actually didn't even really bring Dark Urshifu out in this game, and that almost just KOs Zama with the Life Orb as well as Chi-Yu's ability. And poor Zama ends up getting paralyzed again here, and it'll just end up fainting from Infestation, I believe. But, yeah, the game was basically locked up since we could just click Wide Guard forever, and Araquanid just completely walls the Zamazenta here. So I wish we could actually have played this game out without any of the paralysis, because I think we didn't really need any of them, but this is the value, once again, of Flutter Main being able to get that Thunder Wave off early, especially onto bulkier Pokemon. They just stay on the field for a really long time, right? So can Dynamax Cannon here, and Liquidation. I guess it's technically more optimal to just click Wide Guard there, but even Crit Heat Wave is not killing Araquanid, as you see here. Water Bubble is just such a good ability, reducing the damage of that. So let's see, does Liquidation just get a one-hit KO? We have no offense here, but the answer is yes. Araquanid and Eternatus were incredible in this game. This was so awesome. We were able to use Eternatus to just deal so much damage across the board, and Araquanid was so nice in being able to wall Zama, get some chip damage off with Infestation, threaten with Wide Guard, and threaten Chi-Yu with offense as well. So really, really happy I brought it here in the end. Yeah, I think the main thing, once again, is with the Ghost Terra being committed. I think it wasn't necessary, in my opinion, to Terra it on turn 1, since Flutter Main is not going to threaten the Zama with damage into like the regular Zama pre-Terra anyway. So the Terra would make sense on turn 2, right? Because then you get around Flamethrower being super effective, but I think you can just hold on to it until you really feel like it's you're threatened by super effective damage that turn specifically, right? I guess the thing is they didn't really have any good defensive Terras maybe with the other Pokemon anyway, and they just wanted to prioritize getting the Terra off immediately. But yeah, Ghost is also just interesting on Zama. I think it's actually better for my opponent than the classic Dragon Terra, which would have been weak to Moonblast as well as Dynamax Cannon in this matchup. But overall, I figured that we had really good Pokemon into Zamazenta specifically, and so the idea was to just like deal with the threats around it, and Eternatus was able to just soak up so much damage and deal so much in return. Okay, we have a standard Calyrex Shadow Rider balance team here with Incineroar Ursh as well as Clef and Raging Bolt. So against these teams, the main thing to worry about is like, for example, like Fake Out, Nasty Plot, Protect, Psycho, and Clefairy, and then Clefairy is just a huge nuisance. We have Taunt on Incineroar, which I actually think is a really big deal in the matchup. Dark Ursh. I do have a Araquanid, which offers me Wide Guard, but my problem is I think they have to bring Raging Bolt to deal with Araquanid. They don't have to, I guess, but I think they should. This is an interesting game because we do have Covert Cloak Urshifu, so I'm thinking of just leading Flutter plus Ursh because it's so common that these teams will lead Fake Out plus Calyrex. We can go Eternatus in the back, and then... yeah, I'm like inclined to bring Ensign here mainly because we have Taunt for the Clefairy, whereas Araquanid does nothing for Clefairy. Araquanid, although, can put in some work. I think it just, like, ends up being a lot of work for it, and this Araquanid's very physically defensive. Rather than specially defensive. But I think Araquanid should actually scare my opponent a little bit in Team Preview, because you expect Wide Guard. So, I do think Covert Cloak on the Urshifu here. Like, yeah, this team was built for best of 3 open team sheet, and the idea is to just have a kind of safe lead into Fake Outs, but in closed team sheet, it's actually even more deadly. And they lead Incin plus the Calyrex here, so yeah, like, I am happy to just go straight for Thunder Wave plus Wicked Blow onto Calyrex turn 1. Because I think here you always expect to just be able to Fake Out into Ursh. I do expect the Calyrex to Terra, though. I think Fairy Terra here makes sense. I could switch the Ursh out, honestly, because I think you should be Terraing here. Terra Fairy makes sense, like I said. But I'll go for Thunder Wave here. And Wicked Blow. Okay, they switch. Cool. Maybe into Clefairy? Yeah, makes sense. Okay. And they do commit the Terra. Yeah, well done. But I think getting a Paralysis onto Calyrex this early on is always good. And it's going to be Water Terra, which I don't hate for me either. I'd rather see Water than Fairy, I think, here. Okay, so we'll slow you down immediately, get the Thunder Wave off. And this is why I wanted to bring Incineroar into the matchup, because now I can switch an Incin and just taunt the Clefairy. Decent damage from Wicked Blow. Not a 2-hit knockout, crucially, though. They're going to just go for Astral here. Okay. We survive with both. And you are going to be leftovers. Okay, makes sense. If we knock this out, I think the Eternatus should just win the game in terms of offense. We'll still need Urshifu potentially to deal with them. I think here, knowing your leftovers means that you're not Covert Cloak, so I can pivot in Incin here. And Detect. My fear is that they set up a Nasty Plot here. I think they could go Follow Me Nasty Plot this turn. I don't actually think I need Flutter that much anyway, so I'm happy to... yeah, I'm going to Moonblast switch an Incin. I actually think Moonblast switch an Eternatus could have been okay as well, because then I just pressure with Sludge Bomb and Wicked Blow for a double knockout the next turn. But I think Follow Me Nasty Plot here is certainly one play they could make. They could also Protect. Oh, they actually hard switch. Okay. Into Rillaboom. That works for me. Yeah, I don't hate that. And Clefairy protects. Cool. That's totally okay. Now I pressure with knockoff and taunt. I could even Ghost Terra the Ensign, although I'm leaning towards not doing that. Ghost Terra Ensign is not bad this turn, but then is very weak into Calyrex afterwards. We have taunt and knockoff right now. They could fake out. They could glide. I have Thunder Wave. I could switch into Eternatus right now. If I'm my opponent, I'm probably going for Grassy Glide into Flutter or Fake Out into Ensign and then switch Clefairy out into Calyrex. I think this is a good spot to switch in Eternatus, so let's do that. And I don't mind going for knockoff here into Clefairy. If I get it, then I just remove Eviolite. If you switch in Calyrex, then you lose your leftovers, and I get some decent damage onto you as well. I don't want to go for taunt here, I think. I don't want to reveal quite yet, because I don't think it's necessary to taunt them. And Clefairy does switch, yeah, exactly. Back out into Calyrex, that makes sense. Okay. They could U-turn here. I think that would make sense too. They're just going to be fake out. Okay. I don't hate that because now we've got Eternatus out, right? The main thing is that Calyrex here can snowball a little bit, which is kind of scary. If I'm my opponent, though, I think this turn I protect the Calyrex and then I pivot Rillaboom out. They could go back out into Ensign. I don't mind going for Sludge Bomb into you here. And Parting Shot never is really going to... Like, the decrease in damage doesn't really matter, but I think being able to pivot out here is never bad. Because if you bring out Ensign, I can just switch out into Dark Ursh with this. Yeah, so Rilla hard switches. I think it's probably switch into Ensign. Yep. And then protect Eternatus here. Or sorry, protect Calyrex. Calyrex could attack here, but with them being... with no boosts... yeah, they actually do attack. Okay, nice play. That took that really well. We actually end up getting a full para, though, which is quite lucky. And then now I'll be able to Parting Shot. But yeah, I figured in this position, because it's like leftovers Calyrex, like the worst case you could Astral Barrage and Nasty Plot. Or I guess worst case would actually be maybe a Psychic type attack into Eternatus, but we should survive that without it being like as offensive of a Calyrex. So this allows me to just switch in Urshifu now. But I think that full pair of it now puts Eternatus in such a good spot, and I think I really value getting Paralysis on Calyrex in these matchups because the games go on for a pretty long time. So now I have the Covert Cloak on Urshifu, which could catch my opponent off guard. Covert Cloak on Ursh. Still worried about you nasty plotting. You could fake out into either slot here. The dream would be that they fake out Ursh and then we just knock this out. Yeah, I don't want a Dynamax Cannon in case they switch out into Clefairy. So I'm down to Sludge Bomb into you and Wicked Blow into you. And they do fake out Ursh, so Covert Cloak just single-handedly wins us the game on the spot, I think. Nice. Beautiful. Yeah, like I said, this isn't even meant for... This team wasn't meant for best of one. It's meant to be, like, for your opponent to know that it's Covert Cloak, and the idea is just let, like... Covert Cloak is such a good item in a format where Rillaboom and Incineroar are everywhere, right? And my opponent ended up bringing both of their fake out users into this matchup, so just being able to block the fake outs is huge. And now the game is effectively over because my opponent's team indexes entirely on Calyrex for offense, right? So Clefairy comes out now, but I can just go for Sludge Bomb into you and Close Combat into you. Yeah, and they'll end up forfeiting. And this is the strength of Eternatus in this kind of matchup where you're not getting one-shot by the opposing side, and you have such a good defensive matchup into Rilla, Incin, Clef, right? Like, none of those Pokemon will be able to do any damage into us unless you have high horsepower on Rilla, but in Reg G, a lot of people use U-turn on Rilla with double Grass type attack and Fake Out. And so it's all on Calyrex in order to deal with Eternatus, but as a result, and my opponent with the Pokemon they brought, it was like very much just a protect the Calyrex kind of composition. But by getting that paralysis immediately on turn one, like you know, the odds are in our favor to get some favorable full paras. And like I said, like we're not at risk of just getting immediately crushed by the Calyrex because they are revealed to be the Life Orb set rather than, or sorry, leftover set rather than something like Life Orb, for example, or Spell Tag or Choice Specs. And so I know I can tank an attack and in this matchup, it's about just getting like multiple hits off on the Calyrex, right? Ideally, you like combo 2 attacks and then just get the knockout. And so, yeah, like we were able to find a lucky, you know, full para, and then the Covert Cloak just immediately won us the game, which was really, really awesome. I think even without the full para, and even if my opponent had known about the Covert Cloak, like we still were in pretty good shape in this game. The main thing to think about is conserving Eternatus to make sure that it is able to survive to the end game so that you can use it to deal with Clef plus the Rilla. But yeah. Okay, we have the Miraidon team that won the World Championships in Fire Pond, Whimsicott, Miraidon, Farigiraf, Hands, and Urshifu. So Eternatus and Flutter, I think, is really good into this. And then in the back, I generally like Dark Urshifu to deal with Farigiraf. And then Rillaboom for terrain control. I think Araquanid does make like very little sense in this matchup since 1, you're not against a physical restricted, and 2, you just get demolished by the electric type damage. And then Instant you could bring, but I don't think it's worth over any of the other Pokemon we're bringing, because I think like Flutter you want for speed control, Eternatus you obviously want. I think like you could argue for Instant over Ursh, but I think Ursh being able to threaten Farigiraf is a really big deal. You know, Instant does have some value in this matchup because Intimidating Hands and Fire Ogre Pawn is pretty valuable. And then you also have Taunt for Farigiraf, so it's bringable for sure, but I like the damage of the Urshifu a little bit more. And I think Rillaboom feels like it's a must bring to control terrain against Eternatus. Or sorry, against Miraidon. Okay, it's Farigiraf plus the Miraidon. So in this scenario, I find that people will so frequently go for Fairy Terra on the Miraidon because you obviously don't want to eat up a super effective Moonblast or Dynamax Cannon. Like, you don't want to eat up Icy Wind plus Dynamax Cannon. So the play that I'm leaning towards making here is just going for Icy Wind plus Sludge Bomb. And if you Fairy Terra Miraidon, we just knock your restricted out immediately. So Sludge Bomb here. Icy Wind. Yeah, I think like very frequently players will Fairy Terra in this position. Even if they don't Fairy Terra, I think it's rare that they actually just straight up Dynamax, or sorry, they Draco Meteor into Eternatus, because they expect Eternatus to protect their Terra here, right, as well. I could Fairy Terra here, but I don't want to commit my Terra on turn 1, so obviously I am taking a slight risk with this play. We'll see how it plays out. But normally what people are going to want to do is Fairy Terra the Miraidon and either go for something like Helping Hand, Dazzling Gleam, or Volt Switch. And there's the Terra. Okay, very nice. So, is it Fairy? Beautiful. So if we don't miss Icy Wind, that is just eliminated right away, and we are off to a huge start. Okay, we missed the Icy Wind, but fortunately it's on Farigiraf, not the Miraidon. That was a little bit stressful. I was like, I just willed it into existence, didn't I? But there's Sludge Bomb, and Miraidon just faints. Beautiful. And this is part of what makes Eternatus so strong, right? Like, being Poison and a Dragon, forcing those Fairy Terras out, and then just hitting for super effective damage afterwards is so nice. We're going to go for a Psychic Noise onto us here. It's a lot of damage, but not a knockout. That's fine. Cool. I'll gladly take that trade. So I've got Rillaboom in the back, and I've got Urshifu. Terra's already been committed, so Dark Ursh is already looking really, really solid into Farigiraf. They're going to bring out their Urshifu. Okay, fine by me. Normally Mystic Water here. I think their play is probably to set up Trick Room right now. And I've got Rilla in the back, which is fantastic. So I think I'm happy to just Dynamax Cannon into Farigiraf here and Moonblast into it. And then I can Water Terra Flutter. Maybe this turn was appropriate for Water Terra, honestly, with Flutter. Because I guess in retrospect, what else am I terroring in this battle, right? But I guess if I Water Terra and they set up Trick Room, it means they can close combat me. Versus right now, I think the play for them to make is protect Urshifu, set up Trick Room. They actually don't end up protecting Urshifu, though, okay. So the question here is, do we get the knockout on Farigiraf with this double up? I would think so, honestly, based on that Moonblast damage. Life Orb Dynamax Cannon comes out, and that's a KO. Beautiful. So, yeah, I don't mind going for this play because Farigiraf is very rarely going to carry Protect, right? So getting a knockout onto it immediately is always great. They will Surging us here. That'll KO us with Mystic Water. That's fine. Yeah, could have been a Water Terror here, maybe, but, you know, the game pace has obviously been really, really fast-paced, but I think it's very favored towards us, and now I just got to free switch it into Rillaboom. And we've gotten rid of your Farigiraf, we've gotten rid of your Miraidon, so Rillaboom is just in the perfect position to come out now. And it's going to be Fire upon as their last one. Perfect. So, yeah, like, Eternatus just so strong offensively here, right? I just pressure with Fake Out into the Urshifu and Sludge Bomb into Fire upon. So just Sludge Bomb here, Fake Out here. And then the next turn we just go for Sludge Bomb plus Wood Hammer. Yeah, if you go for Follow Me, you just get KO'd. If you go for Protect, we just KO your Urshifu. And I think this is why Eternatus is a unique Pokemon, right? Like, right now, I am not threatened by damage from my opponent's end. You've got Water, you've got Fighting, you've got Fire, you've got Grass. Like, Eternatus does not care about any of those, honestly. So, they'll just double Protect to block the Fake Out, which makes sense. But it doesn't really end up mattering here with the Eternatus endgame, I think. The main thing I just wanted to be cautious of was them setting up Trick Room with Farigiraf and taking advantage of the fact that it shouldn't be able to Protect. Or most of the times won't have Protect, so just Sludge Bomb Wood Hammer here. Obviously, turn 1 was like a prediction, but I think it's just very rarely will people play super aggressively with Miraidon in that position, as we just one-shot Ogerpon. Beautiful. Because it's like, you have so much to lose, right? Like, Icy Wind plus Dynamax Cannon would feel really, really bad. Surging here. Yeah, does 20 a hit. I think we survive all 3. Unless it's a higher roll. Ooh, that was a higher one. 23. Let's see if we survive this last one. Eternatus is so nice into Urshifu. And Rillaboom gets the Wood Hammer and knock out the Urshifu. Oh, no, it's Focus Sash here. So they did deviate from the initial team. Oh, interesting. Okay. Because the Surging Strikes actually did more damage to Flutter Mane too than, like, because it got the knockout, I just assumed it was Mystic Water, but what am I saying? The Worlds team was Focus Sash, right? Yeah, it was Stellar Focus Sash. I think I had gotten it mixed up because I lost against Mystic Water Ursh at Worlds, and actually that is like a scarier version to fight against with the team that I was using, but yeah. So the Surging Strikes actually into our Flutter Mane is a 62% chance to get a one-hit knockout. I'm really used to playing with Flutter Manes that essentially have so much bulk that you actually can tank the Surging Strikes. For example, with this spread, 212 HP, 132 defense, it's only a 13.6% chance to get a one-hit knockout, and you can invest even more in HP and defense to make sure you actually survive it 100% of the time, which is what I've been used to. The main thing to note is the Flutter Mane on this team has some special defense and speed and special attack investments. So sometimes you can forego like investment from special defense, put it more into HP and defense, for example, and even get remove some speed EVs as well. And so, yeah, because I saw it KO so cleanly, I was like, okay, like it's probably Mystic Water, but obviously the version that won Worlds was Focus Sash, and that is what we ran into. Ooh, we've got Groudon for this one. Groudon, Volcarona, the Grimmsnarl, Raging Bolt, Chi-Yu, and Flutter Mane. I think Groudon on paper should not be good for Eternatus. One of the ways to handle it is probably using Fire Terra Rillaboom to just Wood Hammer it. Groudon's a really interesting restricted. I think it enables a lot of really powerful Pokemon, but Precipice Blades just not being 100% accurate makes it really high variance. That being said, I think it's still very scary to fight against. So I think I like Rilla Eternatus here because I pressure with Fake Out. Rilla can just Wood Hammer and Fire Terra. Araquanid is interesting, but I think it's only good into Groudon. It's very useless into almost everything else. The question is, who would I bring instead? Incineroar I don't really like in this matchup because Groudon's normally going to be Covert Cloak. So I think I like Flutter in the back, and I think Ursh fourth makes sense. There is a world of me that wants to bring the Araquanid. I just think if the sun is up, like, yes, I have wide guard, but that's basically it, and I want more damage with the comp. So, let's go with this. Instant is still interesting for Fake Out, but yeah. My idea here... What do I want them to lead? Groudon plus something, and then I just pop Groudon turn 1 with Fire Terra. Flutter Groudon, okay. So normally the Flutter mains on these teams are gonna be Choice Specs, which is scary because you can just Specs Moonblast. Specs Moonblast. I basically have to be careful about when I Terra Rillaboom, right? Like, the play I want to go for is Terra turn 1 and just straight up Woodhammer Groudon and protect. But I'm worried that they just protect their Groudon on turn 1. So I could also just Fake Out into Groudon and Sludge Bomb turn 1 into Flutter. They're gonna Terra. Okay. Terra Groudon. Smart. Yeah, they anticipated the Woodhammer play. Nicely done. This makes it substantially more difficult now to deal with, I think. The good thing is we at least flinch it here. They do just Moonblast us. No special attack drop, fortunately. Sludge Bomb does a lot. They flinch, okay. Don't know if Grassy Glide finishes off the Flutter, and I also think this is a pretty clean position for Flutter to just switch out into, say, Raging Bolt or Chi-Yu. I don't have anything that can switch into Heat Crash is the problem. Oh, Groudon is actually a huge pain to deal with. I can't knock it out very easily with really anything that we have here. I'm gonna Fire Terra U-turn out, expecting the switch and protect here. Yeah, okay. They might just Precipice Blades me here, though, instead of Heat Crashing. Which would be really bad. It's Bolt coming out. Yeah, I think the problem here is it's really hard to deal with Groudon and all the offense that's next to it as well, right? It's like, in order for me to knock out Groudon, I probably need to double up into it. This turn I could have made the sick read and gone for Dynamax Cannon or Grassy Glide plus Dynamax Cannon into that. But I don't know if this Terra is actually worth it. I just... Yeah, let's see if they click Precipice Blades. If so, it's looking really tough. Nicely done. Oh, man. This makes sense. But, okay, we do get a dodge. So this is the, you know, downside of using Groudon. But Rillaboom probably would have just gotten crushed there. This gives us... Well, I think even if Rillaboom fainted, we still have a fighting chance, but this gives us more of a fighting chance now. I'm wondering if it's Assault Vest on Raging Bolt. I could bring out Urshifu. I could bring out Flutter Mane. I think I lean towards Flutter Mane. There is honestly a world in me that is thinking I should just straight up Thunder Wave them onto Groudon, because like hitting your Precipice Blades through Thunder Waves, through Paralysis is actually kind of tricky. But they've played this game super well so far. Like good recognition to just go for that Fire Terra on turn 1, recognizing that it's just like really safe. I think I might do it, just Thunder Wave and Dynamax Cannon. The thing is, I expect this to be Assault Vested, so I could also double up onto this for a KO. I just think this is my best approach to dealing with Fire Terra Groudon, but we're going to miss, unfortunately. But, that's the game. Okay, that's fine. Life Orb, Dynamax Cannon. I assume you survive because you're AV, but let's see. Yeah. Oh, what a terrible turn for us. Could have gone so much better if Paralysis connected and the Raging Bolt fainted, but that was kind of the worst case scenario for us. Okay, they do end up Dragon Pulsing into us. The problem is I just, like, cannot deal that much damage to the Groudon, right? Like, a Fire-Teared Groudon in Sun, our best offense that's super effective would have been Araquanid. That's basically it. So, this is just a, yeah, very difficult Pokemon for us to face off against here. I could Sucker Punch you. You could obviously switch out. I'm going to just Thunder Wave here again. And Wicked Blow in case they try to get fancy and switch. Actually, I think I still like Sucker Punching here. But yeah, I think if we wanted any chance to win this one, like, I don't think even holding Rilla's Terra would have saved us, right? It's like, what else am I tearing in this game? Precipice... Or maybe I needed to bring in Araquanid just for Wide Guard, honestly. I think, like, that could be the solution. Because with Wide Guard, at least, then, like, I could have Araquanid plus Eternatus, and then Wide Guard. The problem is I don't one-shot the Raging Bull, and Raging Bull can just Thunderbolt me pretty easily for a KO, but no misses from Precipice Blades here. It's gonna spell disaster, and we get crit! Yeah, Groudon feels like easily one of the best Pokemon in the format if you can hit all those Precipice Blades. It's just a big if, but they missed one, obviously, on the Rilla to start, but since then, it's been fully accurate. Flutter's their last one. I mean, this is still potentially winnable, honestly. If they get parried this turn on Groudon. I'm gonna Grassy Glide you here. Just Wicked Blow into Groudon. Flutter Feints. I don't know. I just kind of felt like I needed all my other Pokemon, but... like, who would I give up for the Araquanid? Maybe Fluttermane, I guess? That's not even a 2-hit KO. No Para once again. And then we'll get Heat Crash off. I think this is an example of just a really negative matchup, to be honest. Like, if I want to win, I have to get exceptionally lucky. Like, the approach is to paralyze Groudon after it Terras, in my opinion. I don't know. I think I could bring in Araquanid, but even with Wide Guard support, like, the problem is Groudon has a partner next to it. If the Eternatus was able to one-shot the Raging Bull, I think it's actually a very different story, but she was just the last one. Yeah. I think it goes to show, like, the lack of consistent... Like, we don't have ground-type damage, or rock-type damage, for example, and our only water-type attacker is Araquanid, who doesn't have any attack EVs, right? And it's going to be slower than the Groudon, so, yeah. Groudon's just really, really scary. Like, Eternatus is maybe at best a 3-hit knockout into it, maybe a 2-hit knockout if we're fortunate, and the problem is, I think another approach maybe could have just been Eternatus Urshifu and just try to Dynamax Cannon Wicked Blow turn 1, but the problem is I don't even think that knocks out Groudon. Like, Groudon survived Wicked Blow with, what, like 65%-ish? So, I would need a little bit more chip damage on a Groudon first. Maybe I could go Rilla Urshifu? The problem is, like, if I Terra Urshifu to survive Fluttermane, I just become weak to Precipice Blades, which is so bad for us. So, I think it's really tough because, like, my opponent has 2 constant offensive threats out on any given point, right? There's like Groudon, which I have to respect, but then there's a Specs Fluttermane, there's an Assault Vest Raging Bolt, and the Photosynthesis boosts on like Bolt, for example, just makes it that much scarier. And so, yeah, if you're using Eternatus, you definitely do not want to face off against Groudon. Okay, we've got Kyogre Hyper Offense here. Kyogre, Torn, Farigiraf, Urshifu, Regieleki, and Farigiraf. So, normally with these Kyogres, you're going to be Specs or Scarf, maybe Mystic Water with Water Terror on these compositions since you have Frig to block priority. I actually played against Alex Gomez while I was practicing with the team and he was using Kyogre, and that I made like a pretty crucial error of just not bringing Rillaboom into the matchup because I was scared of Torn and Farigiraf, which his team also had, but I think Rillaboom is kind of still a must bring, honestly, was what I concluded. The main thing I also concluded from that was that Fluttermane is not a very effective Pokemon in this matchup. So, like, I think I want something like Rilla, Eternatus, Araquanid, Urshifu. The question is in what order. Like, having Araquanid for Wide Guard is very handy. If I were my opponent, I would probably lead something like Torn Ursh, Torn Kyogre, maybe Mienshao. The thing is, if Mienshao is led, Fluttermane actually suddenly does become a valuable bring. I just don't see who I would drop. Okay, I'm down for Rilla, Eternatus, Urshirak. I think Instant never comes out into this matchup because it's a Kyogre. It would come out if like they hit Amoonguss because we have safety goggles and we need more Amoonguss answers. But yeah, there's no Amoonguss here. And there's also a Mienshao. Fluttermane basically I think is actually not a bad bring if Tornadus is not led or brought. Fluttermane is actually very good I think if Tornadus doesn't come out into the battle, but if Torn does make an appearance, it's a lot less effective. And there's the Torn being led immediately, yeah. So it's Torn plus Mienshao. Great lead by them because I think it's pretty counter Rillaboom. Fluttermane lead actually into this would not have been terrible in my opinion. But you can turn one Fake Out into Eternatus. You could just close combat and Bleak Wind Storm here turn one as well, actually. That might be what they're going for here, actually, now that I think about it. I'm thinking about straight up sacking Urshifu. I could Terra Fire this immediately, too. I just think Kyogre's definitely in the back. And I want to get a knockout here. You know what? I might just Grassy Glide here and Sludge Bomb. Okay, they just go for Fake Out. That's fine then. Ooh, they taunt me. That's really great for us. Okay, they taunt probably fearing something like a setup-oriented Eternatus, but we're just offensive here. So this is not a bad turn one at all. Poison would be very nice here. No poison. That's fine. Okay. Well, yeah, since I'm not the setup-oriented Eternatus, this is totally okay with me. Frick probably is in the back. Anything else though? Just Grassy Glide you here. Dynamax Cannon into Torn. Wow, okay, no Freak Switch in, I just eliminate Mienshao, that's fantastic. They're probably just Bleak Wind Storming here then. Get that Dynamax Cannon off. Huh? I'm gonna need to pull up the calc after this one. I did not think that would ever get the knockout. I mean, I'm guessing they just have no bulk, but what? Okay. And it's a Lecky Kyogre, I assume, in the back. Yeah. I don't see how you deal with a Rillaboom. This is what I was expecting them to play. Like, I would have gone for, I think, just close combat Bleak One on turn one, because if you're Covert Cloak, with Inner Focus and Covert Cloak, the Rillaboom slot is just completely exposed. But, hey, we'll take it. I've still got a Araquanid and Ursh in the back. You're not sashed here either, so, yeah, I'm gonna just go for Woodhammer onto you, and... Actually, maybe Grassy Glide to decrease Water Spell damage output. Grassy Glide you and Sludge Bomb you. In case you Grass Terra. Okay, here's the Terra. Like, I think this could be Scarf for Specs Kyogre with Water Terra. It also could be Grass Terra. Yeah, exactly. So now the Sludge Bomb just covers for that. Okay. Yeah, Glide doesn't do much, but that's fine. Electro Web plus Spout, I assume. But with this being Grass Terra and not an offensive Terra, I think Eternatus should survive since we resist. Play forward, Regieleki. Ah, they Ice Beam us, okay. But we just survived that, nice. Oh no. That's frustrating. Okay, I get frozen. That's a little bit scary, I'm not gonna lie. We had the game won there on the spot. Because even if Sludge Bomb didn't KO, I think Kyogre would be in Grassy Glide KO range. That also didn't even look like Choice Specs damage, which concerns me a little bit. I'm gonna Woodhammer you here, Sludge Bomb you here. Good protect, okay. Yeah, they're not spexed, so Spout KOs Eternatus. It's still okay. Just scary that it has to come to this. But I think I can bring out Araquanid now, and then Terra it. Good on them for finding the win con, though, of the freeze. Okay, let's think this through. But I think Araquanid Terra here into grass is always pretty safe. Yeah. And then rain is expiring, terrain is expiring. I think I can U-turn here, Terra, Infest, or Liquidation. Okay, well, instead of Eternatus being the final game carry, it's going to be maybe Araquanid. Curious on the Kyogre set. It's not specs for... I mean, it could be just Mystic Water, honestly. Cool. Yeah, we go for Thunder. We tank that. Nice. Oh... Oh, good Ice Beam. Yeah, it doesn't KO us. Maybe I should have Wood Hammered there. Protect Wood Hammer may have been better. Bring Urshifu out. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Okay. That is really frustrating. That's okay. No more terrain. 2 turns of rain. Can obviously Sucker Punch right now. Regieleki could protect, or it could just Thunder. I think the better play is to just detect Urshifu here. And I'll Infestation Kyogre in case Aleki protects. I could have Wood Hammered there. Okay, Regieleki does protect, which is good. Urshifu detects. I mean, this is them playing to their outs, so I definitely, you know, like, kudos to them. Good Ice Beam. And it crits us. Oh, man. I cannot believe the game has gotten to this point, honestly. I could have gone Wicked Blow there, but I didn't think it was worth making a prediction like that to just try to go for the win. I don't know, maybe Wide Guard Wicked Blow, but then if they get a Life Orb Thunder off, that's no good. This is the scary turn, because there's the mind game of, do we think you're gonna protect? I guess I could always fake out plus Wicked Blow into Regieleki here, but I really don't want Kyogre getting an attack off. I think I will go for Sucker Punch here, even though it's obvious. Okay, fake out into Kyogre. Nice. Yeah, I feel like even with all this bad luck, like, they still need to make a lot more reads correctly. And so, that's okay. And now, crucially, rain is over, so your Kyogre isn't as threatening to Urshifu anymore. The main thing is just not tilting after all the bad luck that we've had. So I can Wicked Blow you, and you turn into you. Okay, just need to avoid one freeze here. I really thought it was about to come out. Wow. That was so much scarier than it needed to be. The fact that they even got it to this point is very impressive. Like, kudos to them for finding their outs. I think I could have made this game a lot easier for me if I just went Protect with Eternatus and Wood Hammer into Regieleki, since it was clear Regieleki wasn't Sash because the Sash was on the Mienshao. I also could have gone Grassy Glide onto the Aleki that turn. If I had gone Glide onto Aleki, they Grass Terra, then I just Glide into Aleki the next turn. I didn't think they'd actually... Yeah, Electro Web, Ice Beam, like, and getting the freeze specifically was their out, and, like, Glide plus Sludge Bomb covered for any combination of Kyogres that I thought I could deal with, other than, I guess, like, Kyogre protecting that turn. But I think if like, the turns when I U-turned out with the Rillaboom, as well as when I Glided plus Sludge Bombed into Kyogre, I think both of those could have been Wood Hammers into Regieleki, and just force the game to be, like, a, you know, 2v1, 3v1, 4v1, essentially. So... yeah, I think obviously, if, like, I'm glad we ended up winning, but the fact that they even got it to that point, like, they had to get very lucky, which is get a freeze and then Thunder Para into full Para, but some of that could have been prevented if I had just gone Protect Woodhammer. I just thought maybe Regieleki would protect in that position, and I thought Kyogre on those comps are normally a Scarf or Specs, and so I was like, look, I see the knockout in front of me right now, why don't I just go for the win this turn? And what I didn't want to do is like attack into Regieleki and then have Kyogre get a free, you know, Ice Beam off into either slot. So yeah, but that was crazy. Ooh, we have a Terapagos here with Tornrilla, Frigoraph, Ogre, and Ursa. So it reminds me a lot of the Hyper Offense Torn Ursaluna teams. Actually, even before Reg G. Against Terapagos, we have Wide Guard on Araquanid. We can paralyze it. We have to respect Tornadus, though. Torn Lead is just really aggressive, like Torn Ursaluna, for example. I'm really worried about Torn Ursaluna Terapagos for Frigoraph as a core. Like, you can just lead Torn Ursa right away, which I think is a little bit spooky. Yeah, I think like ground in general is really scary. Flutter Ursh? Or Flutter Eternatus? Ursh-Rilla? I think Instant makes a little sense here since there's such little special damage and they're going to be Covert Cloak Tor most of the time and they have Frigoraph blocking Prio. Araquanid, like, I want to bring, but the problem is it kind of just gets blown up by, like, Blood Moon. It can get taunted by Torn. Terapagos can also go for non-Terra Starstorm onto us. So, yeah, I think the Groudon game showcased how ground type damage can be really powerful, but it's gonna be Torn Frig. Okay, I don't mind that. I mean, if it's Torn Frig, it's certainly Ursaluna plus Terapagos in the back, right? The thing is, I think we probably want to respect Frigoraph going for a Psychic type damage onto Eternatus. And there's also Bleak Wind potential from Torn. Oh, this is so interesting, though. Do you Trick Room or do you Tailwind? You could, like, Bleak Wind Storm and Trick Room on turn 1. I actually think that's a really solid play. I think that would mess me up a lot. Okay, I'm actually leaning towards just trying to knock out Frigoraph turn 1. Dynamax Cannon, Moonblast it. Yeah, they didn't Tailwind. So Bleak Wind. Torn is slower than Eternatus. Wait, I mean, that's not surprising, yeah. Because they didn't Tailwind, obviously. Okay. Yeah, I think they may have gone Bleak Wind Trick Room, so I'm glad I didn't Icy Wind. Turn 1. They were about to fling and activate Weakness Policy on Frigoraph, and then just Psychic me. That's what was happening there, folks. What? Okay. Well, Terapagos is out. You're not Covert Cloak, so they're gonna Tailwind now probably, but I have Icy Wind. I also have Thunder Wave, so low-key I'm thinking about just straight up Thunder Waving the turtle and protecting this turn. I could Icy Wind. I've got Ursh and Rilla in the back. Thunder Wave is just nice because it means I am consistently outpacing you, but Icy Wind does break Terra Shell. I'm worried that they Tailwind Terra Starstorm into Flutter specifically. Alright, I'm gonna Thunder Wave, protect. Okay. Tailwind. Oh, you're not Choice Specs. Okay. Interesting. Well, that's not bad for us then, I would say. Although now, if you're not Specs, what is it? Calm Mind? for it to not be Specs on this team is actually really shocking to me. Oh, I will Icy Wind now. Dynamax Cannon you. I could not believe that. Fling Tornadus into Farigiraf. Wow. That's crazy. Maybe this last turn I should have just pushed the Temple. They are going to Terra, but if you're Terraing Terapagos, like, you just don't do that much damage, right? If you're not Choice Specs. I don't think I'm that worried about you. For now. Urshifu now can close combat you. Rillaboom can fake out into you. What set are we? Okay, it's just going to be Terra Starstorm. That's fine. What do you do? Yeah, that does nothing. And they're flinging again. Do you not have Bleak Wind Storm? That would be crazy. This team is just has so many surprises. Because it's like, you know, normally Specs Terapagos is so strong when you have Tailwind support. So I was mainly trying to scout out for whether or not it was going to Terra or not. We don't knock out Torn actually with Dynamax Cannon either. But do they just not have Bleak Wind Storm? Because that would be crazy. I am happy to just double protect here. Double protect. Okay, Fling, Tailwind. Like, I don't... It would just be wild to me to not run Bleak Wind because I think it's such a broken move. But the upside is even if they had Bleak Wind, we wouldn't have fainted there on either Pokemon. So, yeah. But now it's like... Does Terra Starstorm plus Bleak Wind even KO either? Tornadus clearly is very bulky and more support-oriented. There's Protect. Tornadus protects. This also could have been Protect switch into Rilla, but I don't want Rilla to just eat up a Bleak Wind. I really don't think they have Bleak Wind then. Taunt, Tailwind, Fling. But what would your fourth move be? Okay, and they go for Earth Power here. That's fine. Okay. Well, I'm down to Icy Wind now. And you know what? I think if, given that there's two different times you could have clicked Bleak Windstorm and you didn't, I'm going to just switch in Rilla. And if you have it, so be it. It's Assault Vest Rilla. You're probably not the most offensive Tornadus. I can take Bleak Wind plus Terra Starstorm. I am also just really confused by, like, I really want to know the item on Terapagos. And the set. Because it's obviously not Specs. Yeah, they just taunt me. Okay, that's fine. Your Tailwind is about to expire. Your Terapagos is at -2. Ursh can just close combat you now. Earth Power comes out. Yep. To do 27 damage. And Icy Wind connects. Perfect. In a different world, I would have just lost my Eternatus on turn 1 to what may have been Fling Weakness Policy for a graph, Psychic KOing me. So I wasn't anticipating offensive for a graph, but sure, I'm glad I covered it. Tailwind Peter's out. Terra's committed on their end. I still have Ursh with close combat in the end game. Things are looking pretty good. That is going to be Ogerpon as the last one. Yep. Eternatus is obviously excellent into that. Cool. I am taunted here. Let me just drop Ogerpon's speed right now. How many turns of taunt actually? Let's think this through, because this should be a guaranteed win from this spot, I think, but... We just need Eternatus and Urshifu out next to each other, right? Because then I just Sludge Bomb in close combat. So we can get some chip onto you. Yeah, I'm happy to just Moonblast here, fake out here. Yeah, they just end up forfeiting. Like, I think all we need to do is not carelessly switch in our win conditions in Eternatus and Urshifu, and we should have the game won. But that was wild. I was worried about Ursaluna, didn't even come out in this battle, and then the Fling Tornadus with no Bleak Wind Storm was really crazy to see, because it just, like, put Tornadus in such a passive position, and then Ogerpon, or sorry, the Terapagos not being choice specs just made it so much weaker. Like, it, you know, Terra Tailwind was set up and it was doing like 35%. Like, Terra Starstorm is just not very powerful if you don't have choice specs or Calm Mind boosting its damage output. So I'll take it. But that was definitely not what I expected to see. All right, we've got Calyrex Ice Rider here with Urshifu, Raging Bolt, Entei, Landorus, and Amoonguss. Okay. So, Entei is actually pretty interesting to see on this comp. No Pelipper either. Araquanid is very good into Ice Rider specifically, but it's got to respect Raging Bolt here. Bolt is a pretty big problem. We could go Araquanid, Incineroar, Eternatus. The main problem with that is it's a little bit Landorus Eye weak. Dark Ursh, I don't love here. It could bring Flutter Mane over one of the Fake Out users. I just then become a little bit more Amoonguss weak. But yeah, I think I kind of want to go Incineroar, Flutter, Eternatus. For the lead, I'm thinking Incin. Eternatus, Araquanid, Flutter in the back. My logic in bringing the Flutter here is I think I'm kind of Landorus and Raging Bolt weak if I don't. It doesn't feel the best to bring because if my opponent sets up Trick Room, it's very useless. So I have to be very careful about Trick Room in this game. But in a world where I don't bring it, I think Landorus just gets to Earth Power everything a little bit too easily, and I don't love that. So Flutter controls the Urshifu Bolt and Landorus a little bit more if they don't lean into Trick Room. It's going to be Landorus and Entei. Okay. I'm really curious if they have Stomping or Stone Edge on the Entei here. I could Ghost Terra, Parting Shot, turn 1, Protect Eternatus, bring out Flutter Mane. I could Fake Out Landorus, obviously, and just attack with Eternatus. Say Fake Out Dynamax Cannon it. How important is Terra Fairy here? It's helpful into this specifically. I'm really thinking about the Ghost Terra Parting Shot play, honestly. Ghost Terra, Parting Shot, and Protect here. Because I think Eternatus should command a lot of pressure right now. So if you're my opponent, I would think you'd want to launch Earth Power into it, maybe Stone Edge or Stomping into it as well. And I think Fake Out into a Landorus slot is fairly obvious, but I also want to cover for them going for Earth Power onto Incineroar. Eternatus is going to Protect. Okay, they just Sandsear here. We'll connect onto Incin. And they do Stomping into Eternatus. Okay. Could be worse then. We'll get the Parting Shot off. Entei eating up an attack drop is honestly really big. So, yeah, I don't hate that turn. This grants me the free switch. I think that might be Scarf Landorus based on how that turn played out. But now that Entei's at -1 attack, it's not nearly as much of a threat. So from this angle, I can go for Icy Wind plus Dynamax Cannon. The main thing is I could see Entei now swapping out into Calyrex Ice Rider. But I guess if Ice Rider comes out, we just start using Araquanid. So here I think I want to go Icy Wind and Dynamax Cannon. Try to get rid of Landorus. The best play for them would be Protect Landorus switching Calyrex if they have Protect, but it's going to be a Terra instead. Fairy Terra Lando would be very bad here. Uh-oh. It's just Poison Terra. Do you survive this? I don't think you do, personally, but let's see. Okay, no miss on Icy Wind. Ooh, Landorus actually took that. That's Assault Vest Landorus, isn't it? Yeah. I'm pretty sure it is. Never mind. Yeah, that's definitely not Assault Vest Landorus. I mean, yeah, the Assault Vest Landorus side just seems so crazy, right? Flame Charge. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think a Terra would save them there, so I got really confused, and Icy Wind didn't do a lot of damage, so I was like, well, maybe it's actually Assault Vested, but nope, it's not the case. Alright, well, now they're down to Terra, which is huge for us. And don't forget, the Araquanid will just wall Calyrex Ice Rider in the end game, so it's going to be the Urshifu coming out. Fantastic, don't mind that too much. You're at -1 attack still. Got Incin and Araquanid in the back. This probably protects. Where's the Focus Sash on this team? I think Urshifu being sashed also makes sense. Okay, I don't mind Thunder Waving Entei here and Sludge Bombing Urshifu. Yep, they detect. That's fine. Now Entei is just caught in a really awkward spot where you're paralyzed and at -1 attack. Honestly, from this point onwards, I think Araquanid already looks really good, especially with them not being able to Terra. Sludge Bomb into Ursh. Yeah, they just Flame Charge again. That's fine. Okay, you're paralyzed, so don't really have to worry too much about your speed boost here. I think we can just Moonblast Urshifu. Calyrex should be their last one. Moonblast here. Aqua Jet shouldn't KO us, but in case they crit. I went for Sludge Bomb there, by the way, because if they were Focus Sashed, I wanted to potentially KO them through Sash if I got the poison. I'll Dynamax Cannon here, though. Yeah, at this point, I think Araquanid is set up for success. We are up against 2 physical attackers, potentially a third one, and Araquanid can just Infestation, Liquidation everyone. So we're in a really good spot here. Yep, they will Aqua Jet us, and we do end up surviving. Perfect. Moonblast. I thought about clicking Flamethrower there since I figured they're Sash Urshifu anyway, and Moonblast will KO. And Flamethrower covers for a switch it into Eternatus, or sorry, into Calyrex. But what we don't want them to happen is that they don't switch in Calyrex like here, and then Aqua Jet crits the Flutter Mane, and then I just get a Flamethrower off. I'd rather just make sure the Urshifu is as low as possible, if not knocked out, right? And they actually end up getting paralyzed with Entei here. I would have preferred a knockout onto the Flutter Mane to give me a free switch in, honestly, but... Oh! Wow, they saw Araquanid and they didn't even bring the Ice Rider. We scared them from bringing it. That's fascinating. Huh. Or maybe they're not Clear Amulet and they saw Instant and they were worried. That would also make sense, but okay. Works for me. I've got Instant in the back. Flutter Eternatus. Araquanid hard wins against Entei from this point onwards. I'm gonna just Moonblast here and Dynamax Cannon into you. Okay. I don't mind attacking into the Protect, because what is a -1 Entei going to do here? Maybe knock out Flutter Mane, but now that I know you're not Assault Vested on the Raging Bolt, Eternatus should just crush it. So this was to cover for Assault Vest Raging Bolt, to guarantee we get damage onto it. Yep, and they stomping into us. Oh, that actually did a ton. Whoa. Okay. That was a little bit more than I expected, I have to be honest. That was oh, you know why? They probably failed stomping the previous turn. Yeah. I wonder if they have extreme speed here. Like, I think I'll still go for Moonblast. And Max Cannon. Thunderclap does manage to secure the knockout onto us, though. Okay. We're getting to a really interesting endgame. That's because they're Life Orb. Yeah, I didn't think that would KO without a boost there. So. Oh, Moonblast just KOs them in return. Perfect. Ooh, that was a crit. That crit may have actually mattered. Because we're not very offensive on Flutter Mane here. No Flame Charge. Yeah. I think they actually maybe could have pulled off the comeback if they, assuming they survive that Moonblast. Then it's a question, like, you probably just protect both of your Pokemon. I'd bring in Instant Araquanid and I would just fake out the Raging Bolt and Liquidation. They were really smart, by the way, to bring Raging Bolt over Ice Rider. I think if they brought Ice Rider, the game was just immediately over because of the Araquanid, but they actually respected Araquanid enough to not bring it, which was very impressive. So I'm gonna knock off in Liquidation now. Yeah. I wish we could have seen the game play out without the critical hit. I think the crit definitely just accelerated the pace of it. And like as soon as Bolt faints, then obviously we just win the game with the Araquanid. I could have protected Eternatus both turns, right? Like they did a really good job of getting damage onto it. I just didn't know what kind of Raging Bolt set it would be. And without seeing a booster energy, I was inclined to think that it would be a Assault Vest set, which is why I went for the double up. But I think going for the protects with Flutter and Eternatus probably isn't a bad idea, just to scout out for what it wants, like the Bolt wants to do, and bait out a Protect. And then in that case, then I would have just won the game by doubling up into Bolt the following turn. So I think I could have slowed down the pace of the game a little bit after getting the knockout onto Urshifu. And yeah, Bolt comes out, and I think I should just double protect because the only downside to that is Bolt Calm Mines, which I guess is a thing, but Calm Mind Bolt is really, really rare in this format. It's almost always like offensive bolts or Assault Vest bolts. So I think I would have liked to double protect the turn that I doubled into the protect, and then just move Blast plus Dynamax Cannon the following turn. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much, as always, for joining me. It was really cool to feature Eternatus, and I hope that this video has showcased that it really does have a lot of potential in this format. It can do a ton of damage, and when supported properly and with its great base speed stat, this Pokemon is actually really no joke. So yeah, thanks as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.